Hey there, Russ here. Welcome back to the shop. Okay, let's talk toenailing BS pins. I showed you how to take and do a single pinning on 1/4 inch material, and it works perfect. But as your piece gets thicker and thicker, here's 1/2 inch and here's 3/4. I've come to realize that the pins are really strong on there too. You remember when I did this on the last video and I put these 4 in to kind of demonstrate how to use the jig? And then I told you that after they dried, I'd cut them off. I did that a couple of days ago. Now I'm going to show you how strong this joint is. And I will tell you, this is not the first time I've done this at least 8 or 9 times already in practice. And I've already tried doing this video more than once, quite honestly, and had to start over. So, but anyway, this is a strong joint. Let me show you. 7/16. Definitely a butt joint on here. I actually broke the wood just now. Right there. And it stops. The crack stops right there. So, that joint is still in place. Amazing. So, you can see it takes a lot to really, the wood gave out before the joint did. So let's get into doing this joint, okay? And we're going to show you how to do a double dovetail. That was just a single, one direction. Now we're going to put pins in from both directions. When you hit to a 1/2 inch or thicker, you actually can now double up your pins from both directions. That's why on my base, I added this slot on this side of my pins too, so that I can reverse it so that the angle is going the other way. That way I can put pins in from either direction on my corner. So let me show you how it works. I'm going to show you how to do a double pin, and it's real easy. This is an example of the double pin. I put 3 red here, the red pins, in from this way, and then on the blue pins I put them in from this way. And all I did was I put them 1 inch off, I set my fence, and I drilled these 3. Then I took my fence, turned it around to the other one, turned this around the other direction, set my fence, and then I put these in. The only thing you have to remember is that you want to find your center line on the thickness of whatever this thickness is of your material. This is 3/4, so we're talking 3/4, we're talking a 3/8 of an inch is the center point. If I was doing 1/2 inch, then you'd be talking on 1/2 inch, you'd be talking 1/4 inch in for your center point. So there's my center point on this one. So on your piece that you're going to do, on one corner, you're going to have to draw a line here just so that you know that you're going to be doing this correctly and help you lay out and do what you need to do. Later on, you probably won't even have to do any of that, but for now, just lay out the line that makes this a lot easier for you to set this up. So now that you're ready to set this up, we're going to take our jig and we need to get it set up here exactly where we want it. So if I take the drill bit, number one, the smaller one that fits in here, and drop it in, we can actually see our line. Now what we're going to want, because this is 3/4 inch, remember, we don't want it to come out on the side, so our depth is of concern. If I take this bit and I drop it into there, and I set it here, you can see the angle, and I can move this thing. I can move this thing back and forth so I can set it where I want it. Then I can attach my fence, and I'm set to where I need it. So that's how I'm going to set it. But where am I going to set it? You want this thing on the pins that are going toward the side here, to the outside. You want those to be on that side of your center line. And when I say outside, you want, when you hit the finished drilling, the drill bit number 2, you want the edge of that drill hole to barely be touching that center line. Then when you drill these, they come from the other way, and the edge of the hole should barely be touching that line, and they're going this way. So that is how you set it up. If you look at this, where I have my red and my blue lines, there's my 2 angles, and they are perfectly lined up to each other. But if I set that in the middle, that is lined up to that is lined up to my center line on this board here. That's what you want to achieve, so that these two can go in here. The other thing that's very important is you got to offset the red from the blue. When these are going in from this angle and these are going to, make sure that you offset all the blues. Don't get them anywhere near these, or they will interfere with each other down in here somewhere. So make sure you get at least a 1/4 inch from here to here. So when I set the jig up, if I set it right on this edge to drill the first set of holes this way, when I came back and I went to do it this way, I pulled it away from the corner by a 1/4 inch, so that my holes then shifted over that 1/4 inch. 1/2 inch is better. I go with 1 inch on these. If I'd have gone over a full 1/2 inch over instead of 1/4, that would have centered these between these two, and it would have been probably a better looking joint when you got done. Everything would have been a little more symmetrical. So I take advantage of using this jig and knowing my pattern here of being a 1/2 inch apart in order to set up what kind of pattern that I'm going to do when I drill these. So let's talk about drilling the holes on 3/4 inch material here. So let's take, and now we're going to take this, and what we're going to want to do is the path of the bit. And we'll talk about the depth in a minute. But the path of the bit, you can now see just by me dropping it in and holding it up on the edge. And what you want is, you want this drill bit right where it goes into this hole. Since it's the ones going this way and going to touch the outside, you want them on this side of the center line. And again, remember, you want a little extra because this bit is smaller than the final hole is going to be. So you're going to re-drill the hole bigger. So when you look at this, you're going to want a little bit of gap on that. See how that's not quite to the line right at the top? There's a little white area between the line and the bit. You can get closer. You want that space to be probably about a 1/16 of an inch to a 32nd of an inch. And you can just eyeball. As long as you're on that side and you're far enough away that when you re-drill it, the hole is not past there, you're pretty good. The reason you want to make sure you stay on that side of the line is, when you get on that side of the line, you start critically affecting the length of your hole. You want this hole to be at least 1.5 inches deep. You want 1/2 inch and inch and a half, 3/4 of it for this board, and at least 3/4 into this one. So at least 1.5 inches. My goal is I'm going to make a hole 1 3/4 is what I probably will do. Maybe 1 5/8, just to be sure. Now when I look at this, this is 1.25 inches. This is setting on that side of the hole pretty close to where I want it. And there's the end of my bit. So if I add a 1/2 inch to that and move it that way at the angle, I'll still not be out to the edge. So I can easily go 1 5/8. Excuse me. So I'm going to set my depth stop to 1.5 to 1 5/8 on bit number 2. So I'm going to grab bit number 2 while we're thinking about it. And it just so happens that I am now set to 1.5 inches. That's fine. That'll do it. That'll give me a 1.5 inch pin in a 3/4 inch material. So that works. And we're going to be going in both directions with this, but we'll never come out on the faces of board number 2. So this is set. Let's set up the fence to where we want it, so that we know that all of these, as we drill across, will be lined up. And then we're going to drill the red holes. Then I'm going to flip the fence over to the secondary slot. Turn this around so that we're going the other direction now. I'll set this the same side on that side of the line, the same distance away as I did when I did the left side. And then they don't have to be exact. It's not that critical. As long as you're right about there, when you get done, you'll see 2 rows of pins offset from each other. And that's really all you're trying to do. They'll still be in perfect line with each other, even if you miss this direction slightly. As long as you make sure they're offset from each other, red from blue, you'll be good to go. So I get this set for the second one. Let's drill these holes. I'm going to go through this whole process, but you're not going to be able to see much because I'm going to be sitting this way so I can see it. And I'm going to turn it this way. This is where I'm going to be drilling, is on this corner here. And we're going to drill this thing. I would put my sandpaper under there, but I dropped it. Don't feel like getting it. So now we're ready to set up the fence. So if we take this, we don't need this. Let me set that out of the way. So we take this and we're going to set this up right here. And I don't really need my drill bit because I have a point right there. I know where that point is, so I know where the hole is, and I can set that up just like that. And I'm going to put the fence on it right there. So yeah, right there. Now I'm going to set it down. Make sure that the two pieces are nice and square. That way I know that everything's set, and then I can snug it up. I'll look at it one last time. I like the setting. So now I'm going to drill the holes. Now to drill these holes, I'm going to go center on it. I have 5 holes across. This is 2.5 inches. I already know my width of this piece is 3.5. So if I go a 1/2 inch in, I'm centered on these. So what I want to do is drill 1, 3, and 5. And then I'll turn it around, set it up in the center, but then I'll offset it by a 1/2 inch, and I'll drill 1, 3, and 5 again, and that'll make those pins stagger at a 1/2 inch apart across there. And that's the way we're going to do this. So we'll just set it up to exactly a 1/2 inch. It's not going to be exactly centered. If I wanted to take the time to do all the math, I could set this up perfectly symmetrical, but I'm not going to worry about where they all come out centered, but they'll be centered to each other, and you'll see the pattern when we get done of what we did. So now that we're ready to drill these first two, I'm going to set this in here and set this to my dimension that I want. And let's clamp it in place. And now we're ready to drill these. So I take drill number 1. And let's drill these holes out. Now I already know that my depth is going to be okay with this one. So my depth stop is already set on all my drill bits. So I'm just going to drill 1, 3, and 5. And then we'll flip it and drill it again. Make sure those chips aren't there. Okay. Those are drilled. Now we're going to take this and let's move it to the inside. And we're going to set it up the same way in reverse, except that we're going to be on the other side. So the holes are going the opposite, angling the opposite direction. So now I set this up to where my sight line is just to that side of the line this time. Get everything lined up. Snug this down. Let's make sure it's nice and square. I'm going to check it one more time, and I'm coming out on that side of the hole. So when I drilled these, I was a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to push it over that 1/2 inch, like so. And now so let's go over. Well, a 1/2 inch will put me right on the edge, wouldn't it? Yeah, okay. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to drill it right here on the edge. This actually is going to work out. Check this out. We're going to put 4 pins in here. I'm going to do 1, 3, and 5 from this edge. I'm going to move over and do just the one on the edge here, so that we'll have one extra pin here, but they'll stagger 1/2 inch apart all the way across. And everything should be completely centered. So let's drill these out and see if I'm right. So I have my angle. I didn't put my other one on, did I? Let's put that on. I just saw it move a tiny bit. Let's go in from this side. There we go. Okay. And now, let's move it over here and clamp it down. And let's drill this last one. And we should have it. And there's my hole pattern. All the way across, nice and centered. All the way across, evenly spaced. So, now we have to drill it out to the secondary hole size. Easy peasy. We just switch out the bit. Just remember the angle. These are going that way. So I just follow the hole. And same thing going the other way. And there we are. And so now this is ready to be pinned. Now just for grins, let's just stick these in here for a moment so you can kind of see what we did. And then I'll show you, I have some pins I have pre-cut. So check it out. I opened the bag. This is the wide end. I just flipped a piece of tape over it, cut a little hole in it, and now I have a little dispenser. So these all go in here, and check it out. That's looking pretty straight to me. I think we came out pretty good. So all I gotta do now is take all of these out, and to pin it, I just have my pre-cut pins. I'll show you how to cut pins too the next time we get together here, when I make my next one, which is going to be the drive. I'm going to do the dry joint for the BS pin. Handy little tool to have, I think you're going to see in any shop. So the dry pin method, where you can take it apart and put it together, sweet. So now let's just take these pins, and they just go in the holes. So I'll get some glue out. I'll glue these up off camera. Next time you see this, I'll have it all shaved down, all sanded down and everything, so you can see it. But you can see it's actually really very easy. No real brainer to be able to do what you want to do. You have to watch what you're doing, because you don't want to get something. But even if you get off center, it's not going to affect it. But I'll tell you right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pins in there. I guarantee you that joint's going to be as strong a joint as anything you can find out there once you glue those things in place. I'd put that up against any dovetail any day of the week. And I think it's a little quicker than a dovetail to actually set up and do. If you're not in front of the camera, I can do this in a lot quicker than Frank Klaus can do his dovetail joint. So, just for the record, this is a great tool to have. As you can see, you can also make a super strong joint by toenailing them in instead of just going straight in. That little angle really makes a difference for this as well as on the small pieces. So drilling that, setting up the jig to have that 12 degrees is really what makes all these things really a lot more possible. So let me show you how you do the drive joint. I think we got this done. I'm sorry I took so long here. We're off on the right track. I'll leave a link to where you can buy these. This is a pretty good quality. I bought them at 6-inch lengths. You can get them 8 or 10 inch. $5.29, 300 of them. That was like 1.7 cents per SKU. I get 3 pins out of it. That means that each of these pins cost me 50 cents. I'm sorry, cost me all 7 of these times a half a cent. So this cost me 3.5 cents to do this. How much would you spend in dominoes or pocket hole screws per piece to do it that way? It's a cheap way to be able to put something together also, so you don't have any money wrapped in or special hardware. I keep them around here and I'm finding all sorts of uses for bamboo skewers, as you see. Stay tuned. But the BS joinery system, it really works well on any thickness of wood. Solid plywood, it doesn't matter. And it works real well to help you with the problem of making 1/4 inch material very strong. It gives you a much stronger joint than any other method, the BS pin. So of course, I think you also get your strongest joint from BS pinning than any other way also. So that's it in a nutshell. If you have any questions about this, comments, leave them below. If you like this video, I will be doing it more. So if you have questions about this or the future ones, or if you have any ideas of what else we can do, leave them in the comments, because we're figuring this out as we go, if you didn't know. And I'm really pleased with the way this has gone. I think the jig is working. We'll take a closer look at the jig next time, because we spent a lot of time here as to exactly how it's set up, and some future ideas I have on this too, to add some more enhancement that I've been thinking about that will really make this even a better tool. So we'll go all over that hopefully on the next one. So with the dry joint, that shouldn't take too long to go through that. Other than that, I think we're done. I want to thank you for stopping by. Like I said, leave your comments. If you learned something here or you like this video, you got to hit that like button so I know that I'm still doing the right thing, and I'll keep doing it then. But most importantly though, really, please come back again, because I'm nowhere near done. And boy, do I have a lot of other projects that I think you're coming that's going to knock your socks off. Things that are really OTB. Thanks. And we'll see you guys again.